With the legal battle for the King Kong rights and pre-production behind him, producer Dino De Laurentiis could move ahead with his epic remake. But the process would not be easy. Director John Guillermin, known for his work on disaster films such as The Towering Inferno, brought a meticulous and at times temperamental energy to the production. His dedication to visual storytelling occasionally led to clashes with the cast and crew. De Laurentiis himself was a constant presence on set, overseeing every detail of the production. His hands-on approach combined with his unrelenting drive pushed the team to deliver their best work. As cinematographer Richard Klein recalled, De Laurentiis told him, "Think Oscar," a directive that underscored the producer's ambitious expectations for the film. Legal hassles and technical difficulties pushed the production start date to the bleeding edge, resulting in an experience some cast members called exhilarating and others called totally and completely insane. Let's go back to the fabulous 1970s and continue the saga of the making of King Kong 1976.
Initiate sequence. Retrotron Entertainment presents
That 70s Nerd. I explore the hidden depths of 1970s pop culture, from movies and television to books, comics, and magazines, music, toys, and technology. Discover forgotten classics and hidden gems you will not find anywhere else with That 70s Nerd. The first scene filmed was the Petrox crew landing on Kong Island, which was filmed on Malibu Beach. The weather was cold and the locals resentful of the disruption, but the filming completed on schedule and on budget. After a brief layoff to settle the dispute between Carlo Rambaldi and Rick Baker, chronicled in part 1 of this series, principal photography continued in Hawaii on the island of Kauai in February 1976. The island had been scouted and an unfinished hotel had been fitted out to serve the cast and crew, creating a small jobs boom for the locals. To reach the remote locations, a fleet of helicopters was assembled, mostly flown by Vietnam vets. The trip from hotel to location took 90 minutes, with a strict departure time from location at 4 p.m., ensuring that cast and crew arrived before dark. It turned out that the location was not entirely uninhabited, as Jack O'Halloran related at a special screening of the film.
And then we're sitting down and they fly in lunch, and all of a sudden all these people appeared out of nowhere. I said, wow, where do these people come from? They were growing marijuana over in the mountain. And I said, wow, man. I said, how come you guys, we have it all camouflaged. He said, nobody can, choppers fly by and they don't see us. And we've been here so I said, this guy, where are you from, man? He said, Seattle, Washington. I said, wow. I said, how long have you been here? He said, what year is it? But the box lunches, they went crazy over there. We were giving pounds of weed away for a box lunch. You remember that?
The Kong crew also disrupted a honeymooning couple who had to give up the beach to the production.
Oh God! You should imagine going. You're on a movie set in Kauai, and here's this poor couple that was on the wedding. Do you remember that? They were on the reception. Their honeymoon. And they were camping out on the beach over there, and they wake up to a movie crew. All these helicopters are landing.
Heavy precipitation and strong ocean winds destroying the illusion of a fog wall were some of the technical difficulties encountered on Kauai. Guillermin's legendary temper started to manifest, and the shot of the launch boat emerging from the fog bank had to be abandoned several times before the waters were calm enough to leave the artificial water-hugging cloud undisturbed. Following the location shoot, the production moved to the supertanker Susanne Onstad, rented from a Norwegian shipping company for $125,000. Filming took place off the coast of California. The ship had to be thoroughly scrubbed and degassed before filming could commence. Gillerman's hot temper once again reared its head, pushing the tanker to maximum speed to capture exciting background shots. The vessel ended up in Mexican waters, almost causing an international incident. Following the filming on the supertanker, the production was again shut down until the sets on the MGM backlot were completed. The shutdown was unexpected and cost the production a lot of money, since everyone had to be retained on the payroll. By April, the set was completed and filming recommenced. The Great Wall set was built on MGM Lot 2. The wall was constructed over telephone poles and dressed with 1,157 eucalyptus trees to conceal the understructure. Gaps in the wall were cleverly hidden by draping a special type of plastic, which was painted to resemble wooden panels. The Great Wall was 47 feet tall and 170 yards long. The final cost of the set was $800,000. The next sequence filmed was between Dwan and Kong. It was shot entirely on a soundstage, using blue screen and a giant mechanical Kong arm. An infamous early test of the arm had actually injured Jessica Lange, but did not dissuade her from taking on the role.
That was actually done with the mechanical hand that was run by hydraulic cables. And they brought it out to the back lot where we were shooting, and that's how it was shot.
Did it really grab you like that?
The hand really came in, yeah, and picked me up off the pedestal that time.
Did it ever have crushed you? Did you have marks or bruises?
Did I? Yes.
Really? No kidding, really?
No, I did, yeah, because, you know, you're dealing with something that size, and what they had was they had a panel of about 6 people that were operating the levers, which would, like, move, you know, individually each finger. So there was a lot of chance for things to go wrong, and once in a while it did. I was never seriously hurt, but bruised, definitely.
You know, I think, you know, this multi-million-dollar movie, I think they made a mistake. They made 2 giant right hands. They didn't have a left hand. You know, things like that, you know. I can remember John Gillerman, the director, is an English guy, and there was this scene where the monkey is holding Jessica Lange. By the way, I think her performance and Chuck Grodin's performance, they got the tone of the whole thing. They'd not, and it was tough. That's tough, because you know Jessie now, you know what she does, but that was a hard thing to pull off. So Jessie's in the giant hand, and this is back in '76, you know, the technology is nothing like today. And they have, it's made in Italy, the hand. You know, Dino De Laurentiis, it was a Dino movie. And they had an Italian guy on each finger operating, you know, one of these things. And, you know, John would say, all right, the index finger, move the index finger, you know, and then there would be an interpreter who would say, and it would just, you know, and finally John, he would blow up every once in a while, you know, he would say, just watch my bloody hand, and he'd hold his hand up like that, and so you had all these Italian guys looking at his hand and practically crushing Jessie. I mean, you know, there were times, oh no, stop it, stop.
Lange, along with the giant arm, were moved back to the Great Wall set, where the capture of Kong was filmed. The giant arm received its big moment on film, standing in for Kong, buried under a cloud of chloroform. Tight on money, De Laurentiis screened a rough cut of all the footage so far for the investors, all of whom agreed to forward more money. The tight schedule and ballooning budget created considerable tension on the set. De Laurentiis famously remarked, "When this movie is finished, you will either be famous or you will be dead." It wasn't far from the truth. Federico De Laurentiis earned the respect of cast and crew by being a hands-on co-producer. even lugging equipment on location. Rene Auberjonois remarked, "He was always ready to do, ready to help." From June through July, the production moved to New York City. After months of tense negotiations, De Laurentiis finally won the cooperation of the city. Production offices were set up and filming commenced. The move of location to metropolitan North America did nothing to make the filmmaking process less chaotic and crazy. Some of the zaniest incidents took place in New York City.
Each one of those movies that I want to tell, this story just popped into my head just now, King Kong story. We're shooting the death of Kong, where the monkey falls off the towers, and we're at the trade towers. That's where this one was, and the monkey's down at the bottom. And this little guy comes up to me and says, "Do you like my temple?" I say, "Your temple?" He says, "My temple." Yeah. I say, "What do you mean?" He says, "I walk across the temple. I walk across." I said, "You walked across?" I think, oh, and then I realized this is Philippe Petit. This is the guy who walked across, the Bob Zemeckis, another Santa Barbarian, made the walk, about his life. And there he was, Philippe Petit, and I think it was that year. Was it 76? I think that was the year. And he, in about 5 minutes, he taught me how to juggle. He says, "Do you juggle?" I said, "No." He said, "I'll show you." And he taught me how to juggle. And he was sentenced for walking across. His punishment was to perform for free in the park for a year. That was his punishment. And you would see him when we would be shooting. You'd see him holding onto a taxi on a unicycle. And he would come like this into a group of people, and without saying anything, he would line people up, to do a show. He would get some strong-looking guys to hold this rope that he had. They would just hold it like that, and he would jump up on this rope and do that, and walk across, do a show, then get everybody lined up, and without saying a word, he would do his hat like this and take his unicycle and go like this, right down the line, and catch a cab, and then off he would go.
Before the cast was filmed, DP Richard Klein captured the images he needed of the newly completed World Trade Plaza. This required a rickety scaffold to be erected hanging from the lip of the roof of the South Tower, 1 mile above the streets. The thin ledge was tilted, and the heavy camera was pointed straight down. The process was nerve-wracking, since Klein had to wait for clouds to dissipate before he could pull focus on the plaza. The footage was captured, and a very relieved crew vacated the rooftop. The crew was next deployed to shoot Jeff Bridges' scenes, running in and out of the South Tower. Apparently, the paint on the walls was still wet, and fresh spackle can be spotted on the walls. Astoria, Queens was used as a substitute for the streets of Manhattan. The train wreck was shot here, and the prop was left on the street until the end of filming, puzzling pedestrians who wondered if the wreck was real. But the most memorable part of the shoot was the appearance of a full-sized, dead Kong prop in the World Trade Plaza. The replica was made from molds of the robot Kong's body, which consisted of a styrofoam core, latex, and Argentinian horsehair. To create the scene, a big crowd was needed, so the production advertised for background extras. 2,000 to 3,000 people showed up to augment the paid extras. Gillerman assumed that the unpaid background extras would stay behind the paid extras. He was mistaken. When the signal came to storm the barricade, the background extras shoved the paid extras out of the way and started plundering the Kong prop, yanking fistfuls of hair from its body. According to one crew member, Kong got mugged that night. Unfortunately, not enough people showed up to fill the plaza, and the chaos that ensued made for unusable footage. The word went out again, and the next night, 30,000 people showed up. Actors dressed as police and military characters were used to augment crowd control, and the filming was going smoothly. but the Port Authority showed up and shut the shoot down once and for all. They feared that the platform built to simulate the cracked plaza floor would collapse under the weight of so many people. The remaining days at the location were used to shoot pickup shots of Jeff Bridges racing through the city on foot and on a stolen motorcycle. These were done on side streets, but Klein was able to disguise the fact that they were mere blocks away from the World Trade Center. Background plates, second unit photography, and various inserts were frantically filmed over the next few days. After tense negotiations, the Port Authority allowed a small crowd of extras and a scaled-down camera crew to film Jeff Bridges pushing through the crowd to reach Dwan. The production wrapped in New York City and headed for Los Angeles. In early August, the crew arrived in Hollywood. West Coast filming included getting all of the missing pieces of the island landing, which kept falling afoul of unpredictable weather conditions, Dwan and Kong on the supertanker, in which she again played opposite giant animatronic limbs and blue screen, the log scene, which involved a hydraulic lifter and some dangerous stunts involving harnesses for the cast, and dropping 30 feet onto mats for the stunties, Jack and Dwan leaping from the edge of Kong's lair. Bridges and Lang actually bounced straight off the inflatable bag placed to break their fall, and for a moment both were presumed injured or possibly dead, but luck was with them and they were unharmed. The scene of Kong abducting Dwan out of the bar, the interior scenes aboard the Petrox Explorer, the waterfall scene, and the shot of Dwan underwater were all filmed on the backlot. The Petrox Explorer scenes required a hydraulic gimbal to shake the set back and forth, and the underwater shot was captured in the backlot water tank. Still fighting a constantly rising budget, the production focused on the last big sequence, the reveal of Kong to the public at Shea Stadium. As written, the scene involved a huge floor show, including dancers and Las Vegas-style spectacle. Dino didn't think the budget would cover it, so other ideas were mooted, including Kong escaping from the Bronx Zoo, Central Park, or Madison Square Garden. In the end, Dino returned to a scaled-back Shea Stadium sequence. Unable to find a convincing Shea Stadium stand-in for the scene, they simply redressed the Great Wall set and set the scene in the entirely fictitious Queen's Park. As in New York, the production advertised for extras. 3,000 people showed up. Things started to go wrong right away. After wheeling out the giant robot Kong and rehearsing the big reveal, the mechanical Kong malfunctioned and had to be covered up, wheeled back, and repaired. The next night, the crowd running out of the park was filmed as the mechanical Kong was repaired. On the third night, the reveal shot was attempted again. This time, the gas pump curtain fell away too soon. While the FX team was rehearsing Kong's movements, the giant robot, unexpectedly revealed too soon, already in motion, delighted the crowd, who stood and applauded. Unfortunately, the night did not go well from there. The animatronics malfunctioned and Kong dripped oil in such a way that it looked like he was urinating. Several more night shoots had to be scheduled, with Robot Kong malfunctioning the whole time. Gillerman got the shots he needed, but no one was satisfied with the gigantic animatronic, which would only feature in 6 split-second shots. That meant that Rick Baker would now be the man to bring Kong to life. The last shot captured was the interior of the elevated train attacked by Kong. Another hydraulic gimbal set was constructed. Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange battled the dangerous stunt-heavy sequence and completed their filming together. Bridges was no longer needed, but Lange continued to shoot blue screen scenes in the giant Kong hand. The budget was continuing to rise and had already reached almost $20 million. Principal photography wrapped on August 30th, 1976. The film was still set to release in December. All that remained was the visual effects, the very element the entire film depended on for success. The production would soon become even more contentious, technically challenging, and expensive. Tune in for part 3 to discover the incredible story behind the special effects that made King Kong 1976 an Academy Award winner.